Hey, welcome to The Conversation. You're with Andy Mason, and this is authentic conversations around the messy intersection of faith, family, and business. And welcome to your new season. I'm going to unpack for you what Janine and I are about to actually head out on a mini retreat, 3 nights in an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere, so that we can plan, prepare, and just get on the same page with our priorities for this year. And I want to give you some of the tips or tools that we're going through in terms of preparing for that and how to make the most of that. Secondly, you're going to get to hear how it went when we talk about that next week in terms of what worked, what didn't work, and our planning and preparation. Before we jump into that, I want to bring your attention to 2 things that I'd love to invite you to be a part of. One is Heaven and Business membership. Every single week we meet, we share stories of what God is doing, and tactically and strategically pray through what's coming up. That's a community of people all over the world, telling stories of what God is doing in our places of work. You can find out all about that and jump on a free trial, heavenandbusiness.com/free-trial. And secondly, we've got our annual conference coming up at the end of February. That's 150 to 200 business leaders from all over the world, starting to travel internationally again now. And 3 days where we get to experience the presence, the power of God. You get to hear and engage with other business leaders and how to partner with the Holy Spirit in our daily work, how to hear God's solutions to challenges, to difficulties, how to partner with the presence of God in the boardroom through to the battlefield, and then dealing with how do I deal with that and navigate family? How do I navigate artificial intelligence, chat GPT, and all things like that? You can find out more, heavenandbusiness.com. You'll find that, or you get tickets there, and I look forward to seeing you there in person. So let's dive right into this week. We plan for the year. I've always done that. Working and doing that together is a relatively new experience, and there's pluses and minuses of how we go about that, but it's a journey that we're learning. This thing, it's messy. How do I know it's messy? Because we're humans. But I want to encourage you to do this, and here's some real practical tips that you can do to prepare yourself to actually partner with God and what He's saying and leading you into this year. So you can actually jump and read full show notes on the heavenandbusiness.com blog, but let me just unpack this for you. Number 1 is start and never stop in prayer. It's listening to God daily and constantly. Not only is this recommended, it is truly the secret of a life well lived. Of myself, I can do nothing. That's what Jesus said. But with God, nothing's impossible. So prayer is what anchors me in this place of humility, knowing that I'm fully dependent on what God can do. I'm not a self-made man. Everything I've got is a gift. And when I recognize that it's a gift, then I can't brag or boast about accomplishments or accumulation of things, because everything that I have and walk in is a gift. That puts me in a position of gratitude, and it positions you to navigate the highs, the lows, the ups and downs, everything in life, as it says in Psalm 16. I've set the Lord always before me. Not a president, not myself, not a spouse, not a bank account. I've set the Lord always before me, because I'm constantly aware of His presence. I will not be shaken. I will not be moved. So if you want a life that is not shaken, the truth is everything around us is unstable, is uncertain. If you want a life that navigates all of this with a confident trust, knowing that your dependence and reliance is on God, then do this. Build a lifestyle of prayer, of listening to Him. For me, practically, that looks like sitting, reading the Word, and actually writing down in a journal, what am I hearing the Lord say? And as you do this over time, it'll help you grow. If you want to check that out more, check out heygodwhatnow.com. It's a course to teach you how to hear the voice of God in your daily life, in all things, in the decisions that you make. You'll find that and more there. Number 2, as we prepare to do this, is review what you see God doing, what you hear Him saying, and what you remember He did. So literally what we will do is set up a piece of paper or a whiteboard, make 3 columns. 1, what do you see God doing? Number 2, what you hear Him saying. And then number 3, what do you remember? So in doing this, it's taking time. What do I see God doing around me? What scriptures or words or songs or phrases do you hear him say over this season? And what are the key stories or testimonies of breakthroughs or things that he did on your behalf last year that you need to remember? So what we do is fill up those columns and just write them in. If you've got nothing for the first two columns, doesn't matter, because you can always remember what God has done, the things that he did last year, the provision, the surprises, the good things that he brought about in and through our life. But here's a fun one. Have you thought to ask the Lord, what's your theme song for the year? Go ahead and do it. Just pause and wait, and it'll be the first song that comes to mind. Now, heads up, I was expecting kind of like, give me the Rocky theme, something powerful, victorious. And the first song that pops to mind is an old song by Kevin Prosh, his Banner Over Me. And I'm like, initially, really? And then I realized, yes, because that's the anchor to everything successful, is knowing that I'm already loved, accepted, adored, and connected. God is with me. I am not afraid. His banner over me is love. Perfect love casts out fear. So that's something that I'm going to keep playing throughout the year, remind myself. And what I literally do is I put reminders in my calendar to bring it back to, hey, remember this, remember this, remember this. Why? Because we forget. Even the best well-intentioned people forget. So put reminders in your life. So once you've gone through this process, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I hear him say? What scriptures? What phrases for us? A discipleship or multiplication through discipleship is one. Disciplines, increasing disciplines. Those are some phrases that we're hearing him say. And there's some scriptures. And Abraham journeyed on is to continually pick up your tent pegs, because they lived in tents, and expand. It ties into Isaiah 54, enlarge the place of your tent. So we are literally going through our garage or garage, depends where you come from, what you call it, and putting systems and structures in place so that we can move easier, not move house, but when God says, or an opportunity comes up to go somewhere to do something, we're ready to go in a heartbeat rather than taking 2 weeks to prepare. We are ready. We've got the messages, we've got the systems in place, we've got the go bag to just get up and go. So those are some of the things that we're responding to because of what we're hearing God say. So as you step back and you look at this piece of paper and say, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I remember? What are the themes? What are the things that you're seeing God do in, through, and around your life? And as you ponder and reflect on that, it sets you up perfectly to say, so what does that lead to? What are the things that are coming up this year that I can actually plan, position, prepare for? Number 3, before I jump into that, is just on that number 2, great way is reviewing your prophetic words. And the greatest resource for that is a book by a friend of ours, Dan McCollam. I'm just going to grab it for you. It's right here. And it's called The Good Fight. Here, I'm holding that up for you. Dan McCollam, The Good Fight. Literally a prophetic processing workbook that teaches you and walks you through a series of activities of what's my part to actually war with the prophetic words, the words that God's given you. How do I partner and strategize what's God's part, what's my part, what's God just going to do on my behalf, or is he waiting on me to do something? Who does God say I am? That's going to really help you. It's called The Good Fight by Dan McCollam. So number 3, review your finances. As we jump into this year, we use QuickBooks. So that's a processing cash flow tool. And I already know exactly where we're at from the last 12 months. And I can take that and I can compare it to the previous year. Now, in doing this, why do I do this? Because when I'm looking forward, I want to know what I'm standing on. Is pay attention to the condition of your business, everything that's going. Are there anomalies in revenue, anomalies in expenses? Are there things you need to pay attention to? Are you spending more than you are earning? What can you do about that? It's one thing to listen to the voice of God, but if you're not doing what is in your hand and managing that well, it's not going to end up well for you. So actually pay attention to what's really and already going on and where is all of that. And I encourage you, the first thing you look at when you're reviewing your finances is how does your giving How does your generosity compare to the previous year? I want every year my generosity, my giving to increase, because I know that's just the key to where my treasure is, my heart is. And there's so much more than just what's in the balance sheet. But in my balance sheet, I can see where was the giving, where did I invest, what did I sow into, and what's the fruit of that. Because that, if you show me your giving relative to the previous year, I can tell you where your future will be. The well belongs to those that are generous. It's a kingdom principle. Try it, test this, and see if it's not true. So jump in, review your finances. We talked about giving. Were there any revenue expenses, anomalies that you need to pay attention to? What was the core driver of your business, and how can you protect that and stimulate growth for the coming year? Great book that unpacks the principles in behind that is Built to Last by Collins and Porras. It's how companies last the test of time compared to others not. And one of the core is protect the core, stimulate growth for you with your business. What was the core driver of that? What is the thing that just goes on and on and on? That's the core focus of my business. If you lose that, you tend to lose momentum. So for us, the core for Heaven and Business is actually the one-on-one and one-on-five, the small group coaching and advising. That's the anchor of our business. Everything else is secondary to that. That if I protect that core and prioritize that time as I'm going forward, that's really, really important, because that's the anchor of everything else. Number 4 is dive into the data. Actually, review the results. So it's one thing to look at the finances, but now what actually happened? What was the fruit of my labor? And then as I stand back and I just ask the Lord, well, okay, here's what I've got. Here's what I can see, but what do you see? And what do you want me to know about the last year? Was it fruitful? How fruitful was it? I do not want to get 20 years down the track and realize I just wasted 20 years or 10 years or 5 years or 1 year. I want to be constantly saying, no, where's the fruitfulness? I want to do something that lasts, that's impacting and changing lives. And I want to stand before God and hear him say, well done, good and faithful, because I've been fruitful with what he has given me. So do that yourself now, and then you can make adjustments and changes. So as you look back through that, we're literally doing the same. We look at all of our metrics and compared to the start of the year based on each of what our vision, values, and our objectives are. So those for us are call the crowd. So that's our marketing, outreach, mass influence activities. It's like the podcast. How has that grown? It's grown from 2,500 listeners a month to 4,500 listeners a month. Shout out to you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing and posting comments. And so we've seen massive growth. The YouTube channel has grown from like 870 to 12 or 1,300 subscribers. And it's like gone from 15 listeners or watchers per week to about 77 per week. Now, when I step back and like, really? Those are such pitiful numbers. They're so small compared to the audio, like just people listening to the audio. Am I wasting my time doing all of the effort to record this, the video, the posting of the video? It takes so much time compared to just an audio. And then I got some feedback from a friend who slapped me around and said, Andy, what's the percentage growth of that? I'm like, oh, it's actually grown more than the podcast listening. And he goes, why would you not be faithful in the little things, and let's see what God will do. So I got a good adjustment, but that's why it's so important to go back and review what is happening, how has it changed, what's going. Another one is our contact list. So we've got contacts. Like there were 10,000 contacts. That's the email addresses that we had at the start of the year. Compared to that, we've got 9,000 now. You're like, well, did you lose customers? No, I didn't lose customers. I lost contacts. What's a contact? That's someone that signed up at some point to get something free. That doesn't mean they're a customer. A customer is when someone engages with you and isn't just downloading something for free, but they're saying, we want to partner and grow. They might invest a small amount in a book. They might invest in some course or a workbook. So while our contacts have gone down, our customers, the proportion of that, the people that engage with us has doubled. So it's like, that's the thing I want to look at. The disengaged people, they're actually removing themselves, because this is where we're going. And we're going to encourage people, if you want to run with us, but we don't want to waste your time, and I don't want you to waste my time. So, hey, if you don't like this, unsubscribe. If you do, subscribe and comment and let us know what's helping you, because we're committed to your growth, not your comfort. I want to grow with God and be found faithful in all that I do. I encourage you to do the same. So objective 1 is call the crowd. No, objective 2 is connect, train, and activate disciples. So that's the membership community. That's the events that we do, the places that we go, the advisory clients that we have. And then number 3, identify and activate catalysts. That's people that are taking what we're doing. It's 2 Timothy 2:2, and actually multiplying it. In some places, further, faster than we do. It's like the ideal person in that category is someone that you say, wow, I want to work for you. That's how you know it's working. It's really working. So what I do is we sit down and we're going to review those relationships, connections, contact, customer, client, catalyst. I've broken those down into the different categories and focus on the ones that actually are the core business and the core revenue flow and the core fruitfulness, and ask yourself, am I being productive and fruitful, or am I just doing lots of activity? Great thing to reassess yourself constantly. What can I learn in the middle of this? What did God teach me in the middle of this? So next one is, I just jumped into it. What did you learn? What will you stop doing, start doing, and keep doing as a result of what you learned last year? Sometimes it's learning because of pain. Like, make sure you capture the learning. If you did something dumb, don't do it again. But capture, what did you learn in the middle of this? Oh, it's because I stopped intentionally meeting with someone to give me feedback. It's because I stopped listening to my spouse. It's because I stopped, go back. Stop being stupid. You get to choose that, but you'd be amazed at how many people don't. So choose that. Choose to learn from mistakes and learn from what went really well. You'll notice the relationships that are fruitful. Protect them. Don't avoid them. Don't leave them to chance, but say, I'm going to intentionally lean into that relationship. I'm going to make time for that. I'm going to make time for my spouse so that we have time away together. Where do we want to go? We're going to plan and protect that, because otherwise life happens and it just steals the things that are most important. So what did you learn? Next one is, now with all of that, get away to a quiet place, connect and plan. So this afternoon, that's actually in about an hour's time, that's what we are going to do. Janine and I heading away about 1.5 hours onto this small cottage on a farm. It's an Airbnb, and we're going to literally have time to review the year, the things that I've done this homework and preparation for. I've got a list of things that we need to talk through to make sure that we connect, we hear the voice of God, we get on the same page, and then we start to say, how can we help one another succeed this year? What are the things that we need to clarify, get more details or input on? How does Janine see this? Because she sees things differently to me. How do I see this? What's important to me? What's important to her? And in all of this, so that we can actually hit the end of the year and say, wow, look what God has done, because we have partnered with him in the process. Number 7, go for a walk. Just remember, in all of this, God knows you more than you know yourself. God invested in you, and he's got more invested in you than you do. And then scripture says, if God did not withhold his own son, will he not freely give you all things? He made the world and said it was good. He redeemed it through the blood of Jesus. What does that all mean? Is that you can, in the midst of all of this planning, don't get stressed out. Hit the pause button. Go for a walk. Remember creation. Look around you. It's a red flag for me when I stop taking notice of how beautiful the leaves are, the trees are, the grass is, the birds are. When I stop noticing those things, I've lost my balance and perspective. So come back to that. Go for a walk in the middle of it. So Janine and I have got this agreement. If it gets too intense, if we're kind of bumping up against each other too much over the next couple of days, we're just going to hit the pause. Hey, I'm just going to go for a walk. I'm going to go for a drive. And it's okay, because we want to do this and keep and protect connection and joy and fun in the process, not reduce our life to a set of transactions or things to accomplish. So that's number 7. And finally, I've got some bonuses for you. This is what's my best tool, the best book, and the best advice from the last year. And starting off with the best books, these are ones that I'm constantly referring people to. So I'm going to save myself and save you and say, get a copy of these. They will really help you. So the first one is Relational Leadership by Ford Taylor. If you're familiar with Danny Silk, The Culture of Honor, Bob Hassan, The Business of Honor, this book combines the two of those and gives you the practical processes to actually implement a life of honor while accomplishing great things. It's not either transactions or relationships, it's both together. So how do I navigate this, understand myself, understand others, build great company, business, vision, purpose, mission, objectives, and strategy? It's all in here. It's one of the best books that I think every single person should read if they want to live a life that truly counts. So Relational Leadership by Ford Taylor. The second one, this will really, really help you. Now, whether you work in mentoring, advising, or just leading others, which I think is pretty much everybody, this will really help you. It changed my life. It's called The Prosperous Coach by Rich Litvin and Steve Chandler. Now, it's actually not about coaching. It's about helping and living a life leading others. So the greatest phrase out of this for me was that people actually don't need me. They don't pay me to come and have a salad and a latte and a coffee and a steak or whatever it may be. What's your favorite meal? That's not the greatest value. The greatest value is that I take you down the dock to the metal shed with a naked light bulb and the metal chair and metal table, and I lean in and ask you the questions that everybody else is afraid to ask. Why? Because everyone around us will tell us what we want to hear. But who do you have around you that will ask you the question, that hold you accountable to what's possible, not what is comfortable? And so this is what we're saying. I'm committed to your growth, not your comfort. I don't need you to like me. I'm here to help you grow. So great book, The Prosperous Coach, Rich Litvin and Steve Chandler. That's the best books. The best tool, this is by far the best tool. This is my remarkable, in a cool fancy leather folder that my wife got me for Christmas. But this little device in here, you can see my notes on it. That's the blog that I've written, transferred to this, then I can read it out for you. This is the best time-saving device that I've got in years. So check it out. It's called a Remarkable. It syncs across all your devices. It's like a notebook that I can use. And the beauty with this, I can actually write on it. So it's not just a typing. It's like I can write in it. And I can convert that to text. I can read books. I can highlight things. It is just such a wonderful tool that I can't rave about enough. And no, I'm not getting any kickback from telling you about this. It's just truly a tool that has helped and saved me so much. So check that out there. We just got one for our daughter for Christmas as well. So that's there. And then we talked about the greatest advice. The greatest advice is don't go alone. Find an advisor, find a counselor, find a community that you can walk with. Not just a group of people that will tell you what you want to hear, but people that will truly tell you what you need to hear and won't let go. Janine and I meet every single week individually with a spiritual advisor. Life-changing because it anchors us in accountability and growth. I've got friends. I've got intentional friends and I've got casual friends. I've got everything in between. So whether you're going to pay for it or you can actually just grab 3 friends and say, let's meet every 2 weeks over lunch and ask each other what's your highs, what's your lows, what's your I don't knows. All it's going to do is cost you lunch, and you're going to eat lunch anyway. So do that, or do it over coffee. I encourage you to do this because that is the difference between people that we're observing consistently grow and those that peter off or self-sabotage. Have someone in your life that calls you to your greatness. And finally, 2 next steps for you. Number 1, check out the Heaven and Business free trial. Join us online to grow in your identity with God, grow in business and grow in influence. And secondly, I want to see you in person in Atlanta at the end of February. Joanne Moody, Matt Neff, we've got a bunch of others, Jonathan and Kira Sparks. Jump onto the heavenandbusiness.com page. You'll see the conference there. It's going to be phenomenal. I'm loving and looking forward to it. And I just trust, have a wonderful week. Make sure you subscribe, comment, send us your feedback, and we look forward to growing with you this year.